Hello. So today we'll be talking about making a change for the environment. How do you make a change for the environment? You post something on social media. Hey, look at me! I care so much about the environment. Do you ask your government to make a change that you should be making yourself, or do you blame the companies that make the product that you use? Anyways, my name is Victor Hulin. I'm a French citizen. I've been living in the United States for almost 6 years. I'm a business student at the University of Buffalo. I am not a specialist in anything that is environmental related, but I have been trying to make a positive change in my personal life when it comes to the environment, and I've done quite a few hours of research for the purposes of this project. Without further ado, let's get into it. So why is it important? Well, the first reason is economic. The fishing industry has been negatively impacted by pollution of the waters, and tourism has also been negatively impacted by, well, improper disposal in general. The industries that are negatively impacted, aside from tourism, are all the fishing industry, shrimping, oystering. There's also erosion costs associated with the pollution of the waters with buildings and such. There's also social reasons. So here we're going to talk more about on an individual level. So it makes pollution of the waters, makes it undrinkable. You can't bath in it. You can't reuse it. Would you want to swim in that? No, and me neither. So it's increased the prevalence of waterborne diseases. And then if you look at an airborne side of things, airborne diseases, circulatory lung diseases. There's a 2015 study that shows that in Beijing, breathing the air is almost as bad as smoking a cigarette and a half every hour. And then the third reason is, here's someone wearing a mask in Beijing before coronavirus. And the third reason is environmental, obviously. So you want to preserve your ecosystem because, well, otherwise some species are going to go extinct. And that also affects us. We're not as disconnected from the food chain as one might think. Keeping the biosphere healthy. And I'm sure we're all familiar with the melting of the ice caps. If you're someone who lives in a coastal region, that might affect you or your children in a much more drastic way. So now, who cares about this? Do companies care? Well, sure, they might care about putting a good impression, but at the end of the day, what they care about is, well, money. And that's not to badmouth any particular company. It's just business in general. It's about making profits and such, reducing costs. So they'll be using cheaper materials for packaging and whatnot. What really dictates what companies do is what you as a consumer demand. If you demand products that are eco-friendly, companies are going to produce more products that are eco-friendly. If you don't care, they won't care. What about the government? Well, it's the same thing as companies. Governments care about votes. Candidates care about votes. So, if you consider the policies that candidates propose, that are environment friendly, candidates are going to sway in that direction. Otherwise, they won't. It's up to you as an individual to know what your government candidate or your political candidate is proposing. And does that person have an actual concrete plan for making environmental changes? Or is it just a New Year's resolutions type of deal? So do you care? Well, hopefully you do. And I'm going to get more into that after. So what can you do? Well, first you can use refillable water bottles. Refillable bottles, because plastic water bottles account for 14% of all waste. In addition, if you're using tap water, if the place you live in also eat less meat. Uh, Cows are responsible for 35 to 40% of all CH4 emissions. Actually, that is animals in general, not just cows. But if you were to completely replace beef with plants, you would reduce cropland by 90%, you would reduce CO2 emissions by 96%, and you would reduce the use of nitrogen fertilizer by 96% as well. Third point I'd like to make is to buy in bulk. Why? Because you're using less packaging if you're buying in bulk. If you're buying in bulk, you're also spending less money. So as a college student, I recommend that. Bring your own shopping bags. Now, New York has passed new legislation that you cannot, retail stores cannot provide you with plastic bags. Instead, they have to provide you with paper bags, which you have to pay for. Regardless, I think it's just a good idea to bring your own shopping bags instead of wasting plastic. And then recycling centers. Now, a lot of areas, recycling will be provided by the community. You bring your cardboards outside, your glass, and that is the town that takes care of it. In cases where, for those of you who that might not be the case, which is myself, my apartment complex is not providing recycling. You can go to a recycling center. Wegmans has one that's really good. You don't have to shop there to go there. Of course, if you shop there, then you can use the money you get from recycling to get discounts. Well, to spend less money on your groceries, but that's not why I do it. And then if you look into the types of products they use, aluminum, for example, is 100% recyclable. In fact, 75% of all the aluminum that's ever been produced is still in use. That is because aluminum is very cheap to recycle, and in fact, it'd be cheaper to recycle it than it'd be to collect more of it. So collection of aluminum covers all of its costs and more. Second one is glass. Glass is also 100% recyclable, and it accounts for 95% of all raw materials that can be substituted. And then there's compost. So this is what compost looks like. Compost, if you look at food accounts for 21.9% of all waste, according to this survey. But it's not just food, it's also other biodegradable products, which, according to this statistic, is 44% of all waste. I had a friend back in France who had a compost bin in his backyard, and he would use it to feed worms. So he'd get worms, and then they would leave them in the compost bin, and he'd farm worms, and then he would use those worms to go fishing. So if you like fishing, or if you like gardening, because compost is very good fertilizer, it's a good idea to get yourself a compost bin. And this is more specific to today, but reusable masks. I've seen people wear 3 pairs of disposable masks. That is straight up insanity. According to WHO, non-medical fabric masks can be used by the general public under the age of 60 who don't have any underlying health issues. Those masks are, washable, reusable, such as the one I'm using right now. You see all these masks being dumped. Funny, as one starts feeling, I'd say, morally good for wearing a mask, they leave out other aspects out the window. And then finally, transportation. So transportation accounts for, according to 2019 study, accounts for 29% of all greenhouse gases. So what you can do to make a change is, well, maybe ride a bicycle if it's a short trip, use public transportation. And transportation is not just you transporting yourself, it's also transportation of goods. So you can reduce transportation emissions by avoiding buying products that are non-local, trying to buy local as possible. Uh, Maybe go to the store instead of shipping everything that you want. So to recap, why is it important? Well, good for the economy. It's good for social reasons, right? Health-related reasons, uh, well-being reasons, and it's good for the environment to keep the biodiversity of this planet. In order to prevent the ice caps from melting in terms of emissions, greenhouse gases. Who cares? Companies and government only care about what you care. So it comes down to you. Do you care? What can you do if you do care? Well, we can use refillable water bottles, eat less meat. I'm not saying go vegan. I'm not vegan. Just maybe reduce it. Um, Actually, I believe the average individual only needs 40 grams of protein a day. The average American needs 80 grams. A little excessive. Buy in bulk. Bring your own shopping bags. If you do not have access to recycling, go to a recycling center. Potentially try compost if you have a garden. Use reusable masks and then limit your transportation costs. You can also take shorter showers, um, and then do not leave appliances on, turn lights off at night. Plenty of other things you can do. Is this a future that you would want to live in? Or this? Or would you rather create this kind of future for your children to grow up in? Thank you. My name is Victor Hulin, and I hope this presentation has been informative, but I've also convinced you that we should all make a change to improve uh, our environment.